continue, though. And like in the European Union, the work on the construction of the EU is by definition unfinished, because we create every day more Europe. So a lot of work remains to be done. And from now on, Croatia will not only benefit of this, but will also contribute actively to the construction of the new Europe in the years to come. We still have a number of projects, a number of ideas, a number of funding that will be channeled to Croatia and to civil society organization, but this is in the context of the structural and cohesion funds, and they were already mentioned by the assistant minister before me. For accessing these funds, the Croatian civil society organizations will now need to create strong alliances, NGO networks in Croatia, but also partnership with local and central authorities and integration of pan-European and worldwide thematic platforms. So this conference is indeed the best opportunity for networking and discussing how the EU or how the countries on their way to the EU and civil society organizations can better cooperate. So thank you again for your attention, and I wish you fruitful discussions.
Thank you, Paolo. And now I would like to invite Mr. Nicola Bertolini to tell us a little bit more about perspective from the Brussels. So he's coming here on behalf of DG Enlargement.
Dear advisor of the President, dear Assistant Minister, dear Paolo, dear Oke, correct name, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear civil society organizations. Okay, I'm starting with Article 49. In fact, this article states the principles of equality, human dignity, freedom, rule of law, and respect of human rights and minorities. The enlargement process put enormous challenges on the rule of law, on the corruption, on the organized crime, on the economy, and also on the social cohesion. And this is not only the enlargement process, but also these challenges are in the member states today. Civil society has a key role in addressing challenges with lobbying, advocacy, and oversight. This is important now for most of enlargement countries and will continue in the future. Life and problems do not stop at the European gate. Civil society organization creates demand for democratic governance and rule of law, for transparency, for accountability and the effectiveness from public institutions. There are needs for deepening citizens' understanding of the reforms in the EU enlargement process. It is crucial for achieving a well-informed decision on the membership. Therefore, we in Brussels and in delegations recognize that civil society organizations should have a favorable legal and regulatory frameworks for the right to operate and to boost domestic accountability. We also recognize the needs of civil society to work on their credibility, accountability, and representativeness. There is a need of quality research and not simple opposition to governance. We recognize that civil society organization can achieve more by creating networks and partnerships with like-minded organizations, including grassroots organizations, which are closer to the citizens. We also recognize that our support to civil society in Western Balkans and Turkey should be focused on enabling and stimulating participatory democracy. Therefore, we should aim at supporting two main goals: achieving an environment that is conducive to civil society activities and building the capacity of civil society organizations to be effective and accountable independent actors. Therefore, we also identify three main components. One is the legal and financial environment in which civil society operates. One is the dialogue between civil society and the authorities, national, local, parliament, and a need for capacity building of civil society. All this brought us to develop the guidelines for the EU support to civil society in Western Balkans and Turkey for the next 7 years. And we will have a brainstorming in Brussels at the end of next week, in which we will focus on the results and indicators that will help us, but mostly you, to monitor during the next years the development of our main objectives. There is a scope for longer-term contracts. In fact, advocacy takes time. We should focus on monitoring and the dialogue. We should go away from shorter-term projects. We should have longer-term partnership agreements. We should build coalitions. We should build networks. Therefore, we already started to implement, as most of you know, 18 framework partnership agreements. For the next 4 years, 172 organizations from Western Balkans and Turkey and the European Union will be active in many sectors, from environment to energy, from corruption, anti-corruption, to public procurement, from social inclusion to human rights, human security. There is a need for continuing capacity building of civil society organizations and support civil society organizations to be less dependent on international donor financing. We should work on national funds, on the transparency of national funds. We should work on philanthropy. We should work on social responsibility. The civil society organization need also to build their membership base and work on improving their downward accountability. We recognize the importance of grassroots organizations. We are in favor of increasing the number of sub-grants or low-value grants that we are now doing. The question that we have in mind and we are asking to ourselves, and I got very, very good feeling from your interventions, is what will happen after accession? Will be funds available to organizations working in the human rights, corruption, and political criteria fields? This is extremely important because, as I said, these problems do not finish the moment the country enters into the Union. A recent external evaluation of our support to civil society says that we are doing okay. but a lot of work still has to be done. And I can tell you that it's not always easy, even inside the European Commission, to boost for more development of civil society. The Commission is a facilitator for civil society organization and in their dialogue with the governments. This should be sustainable and cover policies, legislation, information sharing, access to information, and funding. And of course, as I said, more funding is needed. And please remember that civil society organizations live long time. Governments are normally short-term. We are also short-term. So, realizing this, I wish you all good luck.
Thank you, Nicola. And finally, I would like to invite Mr. Oke Salin, Project Director from SIPU International organization that has been implementing Tacso project for the last 4 years in the region.
For some reason, I always have to adjust the microphone. I don't know what happens, but I hope you'll be able to hear me now. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here, to come back to Croatia, especially given the fact that Tacso, this program that I've had the pleasure and the honor of being the project director for, it started here. The first real main activity started in, I think it was September, October 2009, just when we were kind of taking the first difficult steps to organize ourselves for the 4-year adventure that we are now approaching the end of. It's a pleasure being back, but it's not such an easy task trying to summarize in just a couple of minutes. And I think Aida said 5 to 7 minutes to summarize the almost 4 years. It's not such an easy task, given that this project has actually embraced 8 countries, not only the 4 years or almost 4 years, but 8 countries with 10 offices, 32 full-time staff members, and hundreds of experts and national organizations that in various ways have contributed and participated in our activities. So for that reason, rather than trying to summarize and give a full picture, I think it's more of interest maybe to look at just a few examples of what we have been doing and what we have done recently, because I know many of you are members of the Tacso family. We met before. You are fully aware of things that have been going on in earlier parts of the program. And I like to underline also, and I'm sure that many of you noticed, that just outside the door there is, I don't know what you call it, a kind of exhibition, posters trying to summarize in numbers and in bullet points just what we have done in the 4 years or 3.5 years that we have now laid behind us. And you've also seen, I'm sure, I don't know what we call it, the library, which is to the left when you leave this room, where you have a number of different publications and reports and things that we have produced in this time. As I said, just giving a couple of examples of, in order to demonstrate what I think and what we believe have been important in the context of Tacso. We have worked for the region